the most talked about K-pop controversies right now. Newjeans and their explosive legal conflict with their label, Adore. We're all waiting to see how this unfolds, but let me just say, things are looking far worse than anyone expected. In fact, it might be a disaster in the making. Let's break down why this fight may be more of a self-inflicted wound than a brave rebellion. At first glance, it seems like Newjeans is standing up to the big corporate machine, challenging Adore and HYBE in a fight for their freedom. Who doesn't love rooting for the underdog, right? But when you start looking a bit closer, things aren't adding up. Are they really the victims they claim to be, or is there a lot more to this story? Let's start with one of their main arguments. Newjeans claims they can't continue without one key member, Min Jin, saying she's the only one who can manage their careers. Sounds dramatic, right? But Adore didn't buy that. In fact, they countered with solid evidence showing that Newjeans did just fine when they performed in Hong Kong without Min Jin. So, if they can manage without her once, how credible is their claim that they can't promote without her? Sure, Min Jin played an important role in their rise to fame, but to say the group can't survive without her? That seems like an overstatement. If they could handle a performance without her, their argument starts to look pretty shaky. Now, let's talk about money. During the court session, Adore dropped a bombshell, hard numbers that show they've invested massively in Newjeans. Since 2021, HYBE has put in over 30 billion won into the group. They even spent a staggering 7 billion won just to make sure Newjeans' debut album was a success. And here's the kicker, Adore has continued paying Newjeans members even after the lawsuit began, totaling over 12 billion won since October 2023 alone. So, let's pause for a moment and think about this. Newjeans claims they've been mistreated by Adore, but the evidence shows that they've been supported financially in ways that few other groups could even dream of. How can they keep saying they're being wronged when the company has literally invested millions in them? Now, here's the thing. Newjeans' legal team is trying to argue that their contract should be canceled because Adore isn't the same company it was when they first signed. They claim that after HYBE took over, the management has shifted, and that's why they can no longer trust the company. But here's the issue. This argument doesn't hold water. Just because the leadership changes doesn't invalidate the contract. If every K-pop group could get out of their contracts because the leadership changed, we'd have chaos. The court's response? Well, the judge seemed genuinely baffled by this whole idea. Usually, contract disputes are about money, payments being missed, unfair deals, and financial mistreatment. But this case is different. Newjeans is trying to argue that trust is broken, but how do you prove that in a courtroom? Trust is a subjective thing, and without solid evidence of wrongdoing, this could be a tough sell. Let's also talk about the hypocrisy here. Newjeans has rebranded themselves as NJZ and made moves as if they've already broken free from Adore. Yet they're still tied to the label. It's hard to claim you're fighting against a system when you're still benefiting from it. Don't get me wrong, I get it. They're young, and there's an appeal in being seen as rebels in an industry that's full of corporate control. But when the narrative doesn't match up with the reality, it's hard to back them. They're painting themselves as victims while taking money from the same company they're accusing of mistreatment. It's tough to take their side when they're playing both sides. Now, I'm not here to say that HYBE or Adore are innocent. There are certainly problems in the K-pop industry, and corporate control is a big issue. But when you look at the facts here, it's hard to ignore that Newjeans isn't coming out of this looking like the heroes they think they are. In the end, this whole thing feels more like a messy breakup than a fight for justice. Newjeans wants out, but they don't want to take responsibility for the contracts they signed. It's a bad look for them, and their image is taking a hit in the process. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Do you think Newjeans' legal battle is justified, or are they digging themselves into a hole? Drop a comment below and let me know what you think.